Hey, good morning. Welcome to the CGS Biblecast. Hey, before we get too far, I thought maybe I'd do something a little bit different today. What about a tour? We've never done this before. What about a tour of the studio here? So I'm going to switch over to the Bible Cam, which we haven't used in a long time, and kind of show you the setup here. Okay, I'm going to back up so you might not be able to hear me as well, but kind of this is the setup here. As you see over here, we have the microphone controller. This is called a Tascam Mixcast 4. It's really cool. So when I record my podcast, I can hit these buttons over here and it plays my intro and outro and sound effects and stuff. I don't use most of them very much, just mostly my intro and outro. But if I have guests, I can interview them through my phone, Bluetooth, through the computer, or other microphones. So that's that. This is what I use to control the different cameras. So if I hit this, hey, it's me. If I go back here to iPhone, it goes to my phone. I even have this. I never use this. But if I do use this, you can see that there is a blue screen behind me. You may not know that most of the time because it looks like this, or it may have the pictures behind there, up there. And then if I push this button, it's not working. I need to fix that. If I push that button, then you'll see the, this is what I use for the Bible. So instead of the Bible Cam, I switched to this because you can read it a little bit easier. But it's not currently working, so I will not be using that today. I used to keep my Bible right here, study things, and keep my notes up here. Oh, I know, secret. You know now that I read notes. But I read notes, I try not to read them very much. And then you can kind of get a good idea of my office, my whiteboard. And over here is my screen. So I do all my video editing, all the video editing over here and all that stuff. So kind of, and of course you got to have some headphones to make sure things are sounding good. So yeah, that's kind of the setup. I don't know if you're that interested in this, but I thought maybe somebody is. And if you're like me, I would love to hear that. So, but let's get into today's reading. Like I just said, my thing isn't working. The screen thing isn't working. So I won't be able to do that today, but I guess I could just fix it real quick. Probably won't take very long. Yeah, I'll just fix it right away. Hey, there we go. Can you see this? Yeah, you can see this. Okay, so let's read. We're going to be going to Judges today. So it's our first day in Judges. Something interesting that you might need to know about Judges is why in the world Israel needed judges. So I have my Bible here. It's giant because it has really good notes. So I'm going to read a little something from there. It says, the Israelites began a series of cycles in which they would sin, worship idols, get punished, cry out for help, and are rescued by a judge sent from God, obey God for a while, then fall back into this idolatry cycle again. So it's something that if you've been reading the reading plans, you know, like Israel does this. They are on a constant cycle. And we talked a little bit about this in men's breakfast this morning, but it's because, like, imagine, first off, this isn't like every day. They aren't doing this cycle every day. This is a long period. If we look here, the judge that we're talking about today, his name is Ehud. He was around for 80 years. So 80 years, they're for the most part, are pretty solid here. But this cycle is going on because there is no king. There's no government. There's priests and there's some sort of structure. They have the law. But today, like our setup is just so different. We have so much more structure. We have government that's defined, really well defined. They had theirs all defined by their Bible. So when they would go into unfaithfulness and get conquered, you got outside forces coming in, and all of that outside culture is coming in and taking over. And so the next generations are starting to conform to that culture. We see a little bit of this today in our culture, but it's just a lot more minor because, I mean, when a culture took over back then, it wasn't the slow, dog whistle type. Dog whistle is the wrong word. It wasn't a slow takeover. It was a military takeover, and then they would enforce their culture on others. Hope that makes sense. But let's get into the word here. This is Judges chapter 3, verse 12. I'm going to skip through, kind of speed things up because I apologize. This is going to be a little bit longer today. Once again, the Israelites did evil in the Lord's sight, and the Lord gave Eglon of Moab control over Israel because of their evil. Verse 15, but when the people of Israel cried out for the Lord's help, the Lord again raised up a rescuer to save them. His name was Ehud, son of Gera, a left-handed man from the tribe of Benjamin. Interesting that they mentioned he's left-handed, but that's going to come up here in a minute. The Israelites sent Ehud to deliver their tribute money to King Eglon of Moab. So Ehud made a double-edged dagger that was about a foot long. He strapped it to his right thigh, keeping it hidden from under his clothing. He brought the tribute money to Eglon, who was very fat. I feel personally attacked right now. But anyway, he's very fat. After delivering the payment, Ehud started home with those who had helped carry the tribute. When Ehud reached the stone idol near Gilgal, he turned back. He came to Eglon and said, I have a secret message for you. So the king commanded his servants, be quiet, sent them out of the room. And then he brings them close. Got the secret for you. Ehud reached, verse 21, Ehud reached with his left hand, pulled out the dagger, strapped to his right thigh, and plunged it into the king's belly. And this is just for fun here in verse 22. The dagger went so deep that the handle disappeared beneath the king's fat. So Ehud did not pull the dagger out, and the king's bowels emptied. Okay, gross. Very graphic. Verse 30. So basically the king goes away. Israel is able to conquer them. We read here in verse 30. So Moab was conquered by Israel that day, and there was peace in the land for 80 years. Okay. Think about this for me for a minute, okay? Put this over here. How many times have we struggled with a specific specific request for like just one more time? We have a personal relationship with Jesus. We definitely have definite lines that we know we better not cross. But it's so easy to give in. And whether a sin is of commission or omission, we find ourselves giving into that old familiar tug of sin. So this is exactly what happens to Israelites. As we read today, they are continually bowing down to sin and continually being persuaded by the world. So despite countless warnings to turn from worshiping other gods, they find themselves in a, once again, position that cost them greatly. God raised up a judge, we read Ehud, and they still disobeyed. This angered God, who was testing them, allowed this pagan nation to remain. And he kind of was just like, you know what, you can have them. You can, if this is how they want it, then you can keep them. So here's what great God has raised. God is a God of mercy and grace. He heard his people's cries for help. He raised up Ehud, a leader who would rescue his people. God orchestrated a private moment for Ehud to approach King Eglon and plunge a dagger into his big old fat belly. And after a quick escape, the Lord led the Israelites over victory over Moab. So the Lord rescues time and time again. Through Christ, today, through Christ, our Savior, we've received the ultimate gift of mercy and grace. So for us as believers, we have to be faithful to God because he is most certainly faithful to me and to you. So don't make the same poor decisions over and over and over again. Everything looks different today, okay? We maybe don't get to see judges come in and rule over a nation and set this nation free because of God's hand, but through Christ, at any time, we have access to him and he can set us free. So don't fall in to the once again lifestyle of once again, here I find myself all messed up. Be appreciative of the access that we have. Be grateful for what you have and the access that we have to Christ and his power and his mercy and grace. And ignore the tug of sin just to keep coming back again and again and again to him. Israel got trapped in this. We can't afford to do that. Because not only is the covenant different for us, the relationship was different. They did this out of fear. Fear of the Lord was the top thing, okay? And fear of the Lord is important to us. We need to be afraid of the Lord, not because we think he's going to destroy us, but because of his power. So our faith is more of a relationship. If we truly love the Lord, we should not go against his commands and obey what he says, right? Anyway, hope this has been encouraging. Understand the judges and what God is doing here in the Word with these judges and the need for them, and understand that we no longer need them in our life if we just commit to following the Lord and his commands. Just like them, they didn't need it at all, but they had to have it because they didn't have the blood of Christ. We do. Don't just rely on that all the time to bail you out. Be faithful because you love the Lord with all your heart. Anyway, hope it's been helpful. Have a good day.